Canada, the Conservatives have also tried to ram through the bill as quickly as possible with little debate. Craig Scott, the critic for democratic reform, is here today to talk about what is happening in Parliament to defend our democracy and to slow down these sweeping changes that the Conservatives are trying to force on Canadians.
Hey everybody, my name is Craig Scott. I'm the official opposition's critic for democratic reform, MP for Toronto Danforth for the NDP. I'd like to start by saying that what happened on Friday with a climb down, a very welcome climb down by the minister on a number of points in this bill are a tribute to democratic resistance. On three levels, it's really important to know. First of all, I have to say from the second day after this bill was tabled in the House of Commons, the resistance that the official opposition began under Tom Mulcair's leadership has kept this on the front burners of everything in Ottawa and gradually across the country. We have made this our top priority for the last 2 months. But without all of you, without the Canadian Federation of Students, the Counsel of Canadians, without who else is part of it? Without Lead Now, of course, without Apathy is Boring, without Fair Vote Canada, without Avaz, without a whole series of groups, without an engaged civil society that from day one were aware of what was happening and mobilized, we would not be where we're at, partially victorious. But the third element you all have to, I think, be aware of is that without some conservative backbenchers working behind the scenes under the pressure of the opposition and all of you, without them telling Pierre Poilievre that he would not have their support unless he backed down after everything that had been learned in the committee process and through criticism from academics, editorialists, journalists, and all of you, he was not going to be able to get this bill through. So three elements made up what again I will call a partial victory. That is an official opposition that have been relentless, you, an engaged civil society, and finally some sign that even in a majority government, cross-aisle cooperation with backbench Conservative MPs can actually make a difference. So thank you everybody. Now, I won't go into the details other than to say, while these changes announced by the minister on Friday are welcome, and a couple of them are significant, that is getting rid of this grotesque fundraising exemption that would allow well-funded parties, especially the Conservatives, to spend millions more dollars every campaign contacting their former voters without any monitoring about who they were actually contacting.
Shame.
The fact of saying they're willing not to allow parties to be involved in appointing central poll supervisors, and also the fact that they're backing down at least on high school and elementary school, middle school as well, education. All of those are major victories. But nonetheless, there's so much in this bill. It is a tapestry that is undermining our democracy. The fact that the Commissioner for Canada Elections, the chief investigator of election wrongdoing, cannot go to a judge to compel testimony, that is not there. The fact that $60 million or more a year can be spent, a campaign can be spent by political parties, and they do not have to produce receipts or documentation to show how that money was spent. The power for the chief electoral officer to get those receipts and documentation, that is not there. General public outreach and public education, as already indicated, to new Canadians, to Aboriginal communities, to Canadians at large, and indeed to university students, all of that is still going to be prohibited by this bill. The robocall or the voter contact registry regime, there was one minor concession to add 2 years from 1 year, which is very short, to 3 years to retain certain data. But I want you to know that there are a number of major holes still in that regime. Get this. The calling service companies and the clients, parties, etc., do not have to retain the phone numbers of the people they're calling. There's no suggestion by the government that they're going to change that. The audio recordings and the scripts for the live calls, they do not have to be sent to the CRTC, which is the monitoring body. There's several other problems that haven't been touched by this concession. The Commissioner for Canada Elections has been moved into a government ministry away from the Chief Electoral Officer, who is an officer of Parliament, and at the same time, a number of fetters have been put on his powers to investigate. The government tries to pretend that this is actually enhancing investigative powers, but they must have been reading Orwell lately, because it does the opposite. I've only just scratched the surface. There are so many other problems that the message I have for you now is thank you for making possible a major victory on Friday. That is something we should all celebrate, but we cannot let up now. This is not about a minister being allowed to save face by climbing down on a few important things. Whatever mistakes he's made in structuring a draconian bill and in having absolutely no consultations or cooperation about the content of a fundamental bill like this beforehand, he has to live with those mistakes. It is not up to us to say, thank you for coming 1/4 of the way. We need the rest of the 3/4. We need all the major amendments in this bill. Otherwise, there is no choice but for it to be withdrawn and for the whole thing to start fresh. So I'll end by saying that next week is a crucial week. What we call in Parliament the clause-by-clause amendment process starts in the committee that's been studying this bill. So far, we've heard 71 witnesses. We'll hear 2 more on Monday, including the Director of Public Prosecutions. Not one who doesn't have a partisan background. There were 3 with Conservative connections who spoke favorably about the bill. But of the 71 so far, 67 or 68 have criticized the bill in reasoned, reflective, common sense terms. The government has had no choice but to listen to them and listen to you. So, the amendments process starts Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock. It goes almost non-stop until 5 o'clock Thursday afternoon. And we want to see every major amendment to make this bill whole and make this bill not an attack on democracy go through. If it doesn't, the NDP will be tabling a motion that I've already given notice of to withdraw the bill and start over. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for being there. Thank you for showing that despite a majority government with the inclinations of Stephen Harper's majority government, democracy is still alive and getting better and better in this country. Thank you.